Hey guys, it's Mrs. Ott. I'm here to talk to you about word problems with all these sequences we've been looking at. And so this is kind of a look at sequences in real life. So we're looking at a real life situation and how we can model this with our explicit and recursive arithmetic and geometric rules. All right, so we're going to read through this problem and I'm going to just highlight a few things that I think are important. So it says, Mr. Trummer teaches a summer workout class. His initial enrollment is 18 students. Okay, so the first week he has 18 students and he adds 4 students every week. How many weeks will it take him for him to have 38 students? All right. So some of you kind of probably have some thoughts going on in your head already. You might kind of already know where we're heading. Down here it says, organize your thoughts and numerically write out what is going on in this situation. Well, the first thing I noticed is we started off with 18 students. Okay, then after a week, he is going to have 4 more students. So let's just kind of plot out what we're working towards. So I know first week we have 18. The second week, we're going to have 4 more. So that tells me that I'm going to have 22 students in the second week of my class, okay? Because apparently Mr. Trummer must be some really good summer workout teacher. All these people are trying to join his class. I mean, I don't see why, but that's just me. Okay, 22 plus 4 for my next one. So it looks like the third week would be 26. And if I kept going, okay, my fourth week, I'd add another 4, and we would have 30. So the question is, how many weeks will it take for him to have that 38 number, right? The 38th student enter into the class. So right now, we're getting pretty close. I could keep going with this pattern. So this would be 34, and then I would get to 38, right? So this would be the 5th week, and this would be the 6th week. So right now, just mapping out my thoughts, I kind of can see that I'm thinking it's going to take us 6 weeks to get to that 38 student mark total in our class. All right. So let's go ahead and answer some of these questions down here. Now that we have our thoughts kind of mapped out, see what these questions are going to ask us. So it says this situation can be modeled by a or an blank sequence. Okay, well, every time we're adding 4, anytime we're adding, that would mean an arithmetic sequence. I always think adding and arithmetic, they both start with A. That's how I remember. Multiplication would be geometric. And some of your guys' problems today are going to be geometric. You're just going to have to remember that means we're multiplying. Down here it says write an explicit rule for this sequence. So if you kind of forget what that explicit rule looks like, remember this is just kind of the basic formula we're following. F of n equals the first term plus the common difference times n minus 1. So it's our job to fill in f of 1 and the common difference, okay, with whatever's going on in our problem. So for us, we have a first term of 18, right? Because we started off with 18 students here. Then my common difference every time we were adding 4, okay? He adds 4 students every week. So down here in my equation, I'm going to say f of n equals, replace this with our first term, which was 18, replace this with the common difference, which was 4, because we added 4 students every week, and keep the n minus 1. Okay, so that's our explicit rule for the sequence that we got going on here. Now down here, this is kind of the main question we need to look at for today. It says it will take blank weeks for Mr. Trummer to have 38 students. When we kind of mapped out our thoughts, we were thinking it was going to take 6 weeks. So let's kind of use this formula or this rule here to see if we were right. So it says f of n equals 18 plus 4 times n minus 1. Remember, we want to have a total of 38 students. So we have to figure out what in our equation is the 38. Well, n is going to represent the number of weeks. Okay, so really we are kind of solving for n here. The output is going to be how many students we have. Okay, so think, we're we're adding 4 every week, right? So that's why we have 4 with the weeks. Then our output over here, the f of n, that's why it makes sense. That's going to be number of students, because that n over here is going to have to be weeks, being with the 4 here. So in our case, we want to have 38 students. I'm going to put that in for this f of n. I'm going to replace the whole thing with 38. So 38 equals 18 plus 4 times n minus 1. I'm going to have some work to do here. I don't have a ton of room. I'm going to do my best to make it look nice for you. So if I'm solving this, there's a lot of things going on. The first thing I notice is this 18 out in front. So this is a positive 18. So to get rid of a positive 18, I need to subtract from both sides. Some of you guys like to do all these lines and things in here. You don't have to do all that if you don't want to. So these 18s cancel out. I'm left with 4 times n minus 1. And then the 38 minus 18, I get 20. All right, so here I have a couple of options. Some of you guys are going to say distribute. Okay, you could totally do that. Now, that's going to have a couple of extra steps that you don't necessarily have to do. Okay, right now, I'm going to use my head, and I know this is 4 times n minus 1. Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So since that 4 is multiplying everything in those parentheses, I can just divide that whole entire side by 4 and not have to worry about distributing it out. So it's going to save me some steps. So those are going to cancel out. Kind of going to move this over here. So 20 divided by 4 over there is 5. The 4 is canceled out. I'm left with n minus 1. Now it should be easy from here. If we're solving for n, opposite of minus is plus. Add 1 to each side. I end up getting 6 for n. So we were, in fact, correct up here when we made our original statement, when we were organizing our thoughts. It's going to take Mr. Trummer 6 weeks to have 38 students in his workout class. Man, this must be one heck of a workout class with all these people. All right. So like I said earlier, in your practice today, you're going to have some that are adding and some that are multiplying. So just make sure you're paying attention to that and change up the equations based on what pattern you are following. Best of luck. Let your teacher know if you have any questions.